ঠিক আছে শ্রান্তে দেখা যাচ্ছে শ্রান্তে টাকা পড়ে গেল শ্রাইনটা একদম এই হাইটে হয়ে গেল হ্যাঁ একটু বুঝতে চলে গেছে হবে না এখন দেখা যাচ্ছে এখন ঠিক আছে ঠাকুরকে দেখা যাচ্ছে ওম তব কথামৃতম তপ্ত জীবনম কবিভিरीडितं কলমশাপহম শ্রবণমঙ্গলম শ্রীমদাততম ভুবি গৃণন্তি ये भूरिदा जना. Welcome to the Friday scripture class, and today's class is on the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. I am in Winnipeg. In fact, it's not Winnipeg, about 1.5 hours from Winnipeg, very scenic town of Pinawa in Manitoba. And we are in the house of devotee, long-time devotee. He said the first initiated disciple of Swami Kripamayananda. His name is Purna Vera. Always he hosts us, and he's the coordinator of the Vedanta Society of Winnipeg, and very devoted to Thakur. Very senior person, about 85 years old, and yet with all enthusiasm he works for the Vedanta Society. So today's our talk is Yam at Dakshineswar Part 2, page 371. So it is on December 27, 1883. So Sri Ramakrishna visited Ishan's house and had wonderful conversation with Srish, Ishan's after having talk and wonderful treatment. He traveled to Ishan's parents, father-in-law's place, and after seeing him there, um, he went to Ram's house on his way to Dakshineswar. So in Ram's house, he spoke with Mahendra Goswami, and he was a Vaishnava devotee, but very and also very good person, is sadhaka, and Sri Ramakrishna enjoyed talking with him. So conversation with Mahendra Goswami in Ram's house is continuing. So Sri Ramakrishna is talking about his own experience, his own sadhana, that what he did. So he says his sadhana, what he did when he was practicing sadhana. So he says, listen, I prayed to the Divine Mother for pure love. I said to her, here is thy righteousness, here is thy unrighteousness. Take them both and give me pure love for thee. Here is thy purity, here is thy impurity. Take them both and give me pure love for thee. O Mother, here is thy virtue, here is thy vice. Take them both and give me pure love for thee. So this was the prayer of Sri Ramakrishna. What does this prayer mean? Prayer means all the opposites of the world, good and bad, virtue and vice, all this. He doesn't want anything. People want that vice or sin, but people want the good merits and the virtues, righteousness. But Sri Ramakrishna, dharma, adharma, both is yours. Your adharma. So I don't want any of these. Please take that back. I know what is important for me as the sadhaka. So that is love for thee. And what type of love? Pure love. Pure love is the love directed only for the divine, not for anything else in the world. So if anything else is love, it is love through God. So that is called the pure love. You love some person because God is there in that person, or you have the knowledge that God appears in that person. That's why you love that person. When Narendranath used to come and Hajra said to Sri Ramakrishna, you love these boys because they are rich. So Sri Ramakrishna went to Mother, do I love these boys because they are rich? Then Divine Mother said to him, why do you take to Hajra's words? You love them because you see God in them. So he comes and starts talking to Hajra, you wretch, you disturb my mind. I love them because I see divine in them. I see Divine Mother in them. If I don't see Divine Mother, I would not talk or look at them at all. So Sri Ramakrishna love for human beings is by seeing divine in them. His connection was with divine and divine only. Wherever he saw divine, there was his connection. So that's with the pure love. So he didn't see when he gave this virtue and vice, good and bad, dharma and adharma, all this purity and impurity. All that giving means that he is not concerned how the people, how the person is there. He wants only pure love for Divine Mother. When that pure love for Divine Mother that comes to our heart and it starts manifesting, then you love everyone without considering whether he is virtuous or he is otherwise. So you love every being without any other consideration. So only consideration is the manifestation of the divine. You see divine being equally present in all human beings. So that's why you love them. So you love them so much, though, and without considering whether it's a good conduct or bad conduct doesn't matter. Any person Sri Ramakrishna used to love and treat so dearly. That was Sri Ramakrishna relationship with the people, because he prayed for pure love and nothing else. He didn't want any virtue, any dharma. Even he gave, this is pure purity. Take that purity, impurity, all also in the Maya. It's a duality. And when you go beyond Maya, beyond duality, then you go into the divine, that blissful self, that Atman, that Ishvara that shines everywhere. So that is, give me pure love for thee means, may I have relationship with thee only for thy sake, not for purity, not for virtue, not for good merits, not for anything else, but only because of you as you are. Pure love means that I want God and nothing else. That's why his bond with Divine Mother was so strong, and that's why his love for human beings, devotees, and other people was also so strong, because he prayed for the Shuddha Bhakti, pure Bhakti, without wanting anything else, any qualities. So he went beyond all the qualities, all she became Trigunatita. So that was Sri Ramakrishna's prayer that has been granted by the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna, why he speaks about his sadhana to us? Because he says what we should do. We should also follow his footsteps. He wants us also to want God, seek God, and nothing else of the world. Nothing else. When we get God, then we get everything. Sab kuch chhode, sab kuch paave. That's what they say. We give up everything, and when we can give everything as with the idea of I and mine, then we get God, and God is everything. Sab kuch chhode, sab kuch paave. When we give up everything, then only we get God, and God is everything. Then we have the knowledge that God has become all. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna, this prayer is so important. Here is thy virtue, here is this vice. Take them both and give me pure love for thee. So now Goswami, who was a Vaishnava devotee, and very nice, he said about the Sri Ramakrishna when he heard of Vaishnava, he said that many Shaktas are, Vaishnavas do not criticize Shaktas, he said. And Sri Ramakrishna said, Vaishnava, true Vaishnava do not criticize Shaktas. So that when Master said, Goswami had said, Shiva and Parvati are father and mother. Mm, Mata me Parvati Devi, Pita Devo Maheshwara. It is in the Mahabharata, in the Kalidasa. Kalidasa wrote this in Raghuvamsa, or some of his poem. And this Sri Ramakrishna was so much impressed, and he says, "Yes, you are true. That is so true." And he said to Goswami, Mahendra Goswami, "Thank you," he said, "for uttering such words that." Not criticizing anyone, not criticizing Shaktas, or not criticizing anyone. That is one sign of a devotee. They don't criticize anyone. They don't find fault with anyone. They treat everyone equally. If we really love God as truly as God, then we start loving everyone as they are. And do not criticize others. Do not find fault with others. Do not try to see defect in others. Do not research and find out defect. Sometimes we research and say, oh, this person is that way, and that person has so many, and you start counting what person has the defect. That is a sign of not having love for God yet grown in our heart. Still lot of impurity in our heart is there. Then only we seek and see defects in others. If there are no defects, we try to impose defect on others. Where do we impose that defect? That person doesn't have the defect. We impose that defect from our own mind. Whatever defect we have, we impose that defect into the person whom we do not like and say that person is that way. How do you know? Oh, I know that. From where did he get or she get? Got from himself or herself. And that is not the sign of pure Vaishnava. True Vaishnava, says Sri Ramakrishna. We heard that earlier in our earlier gospel class, previous gospel class. Now, after Sri Ramakrishna, listening to Sri Ramakrishna's prayer, Goswami says, yes, sir, that is right, Master. You should undoubtedly bow before all views. But there is a thing called unswerving devotion to one idea. True, you should salute everyone, but you must love one idea and your whole soul with your whole soul. That is unswerving devotion. Ekanishtha bhakti, that's called this unswerving devotion to one idea. And yet you don't criticize or hate other ideals also are very lofty ideals, very good ideals, but you feel, I this is my ideal, my chosen ideal. Suppose your chosen ideal is Rama or Krishna or Kali, so that is your ideal, no deviation from that. So that is called Ekanishtha bhakti or Ishtanishtha. That is important in spiritual life. You revere everyone, you bow down to everyone, you go to the temple of all the incarnations and all the faiths, but you have particular attachment to one form of God. Ishtanishtha, that is very important to grow maturely in the devotion, in our devotion, in our sadhana. That's what Swami Sri Ramakrishna emphasizes. There is one thing called unswerving devotion to one idea. Nischala bhakti, not wavering, not moving from one devotion. You are firmly devoted to one ideal of God, and yet you know that the God whom you worship in and through that form is the same God that appears in so many other forms. And yet you will say, but my chosen ideal of the Brahman, of Satchidananda, is this form. So I worship Satchidananda in that form. That makes your nishtha to God through that. And that is the way we grow in devotion. Devotion becomes intense, devotion becomes mature, bhakti becomes mature through that. And then we get all the qualities of a true bhakta. True bhakta does not criticize. True Vaishnava do not criticize Shakta, says Sri Ramakrishna. True devotees will not criticize anyone, Shakta or Vaishnava or Saivite or Muslim or Christian. No one will they criticize. They all know that all are trying to reach that highest stage or the God through worshipping God in different ways, but they are devoted to one unswerving devotion to one chosen ideal. That's called Ishtanistha Nischala Bhakti. That's what it's called. Then what Sri Ramakrishna says gives the example of Hanuman. Hanuman could not take delight in any other form than that of Sri Rama. The gopis had such single minded love for the cowherd Krishna of Vrindavan. So that they did not care to see the turbaned Krishna of Dwaraka. So here, how Sri Ramakrishna described about the Ishtanistha or Ekanistha Bhakti. You see, he says that Hanuman, he says, Hanuman we call Gyani Nam Agraganyam. He's foremost among the Gyanis. And what was his Gyana? His Gyana was Nishtha to Rama, his devotion to Rama. Srinathe Janaki Rathe Abhed Paramatmani Tathapi Mama Sarvasva Gyana Rama Kamala Lochana. That I know that it is Srinath, it is Vishnu and Rama are one in Paramatman, they are Paramatma. But my love, my all is Tatha Mama Sarvaswam, my everything, my all in all is lotus-eyed Rama. That Sri Ramakrishna he says he had so much of a nishtha on Rama. And he gives only not only the Rama Bhakta, he brings Krishna Bhakta, the gopis. Gopis were devoted to Krishna. And he says how Ishta Nishta can make you so attached to not only one particular ideal, but particular form of that ideal. So gopis loved the Krishna of Vrindavan, and they didn't want to see Krishna of Dwaraka. So they once went to Dwaraka, and Krishna was their king wearing turban, and they refused to see this turban Krishna. They want same Krishna of Dwaraka, who used to play with gopas and gopis, the cowherd, and used to look after the cows and had no glory of the king. That simple Krishna is our ideal. We want that Krishna. So that's how some people have chosen ideal, that Gopala Krishna. Some have the Krishna of Radha Krishna. Some have the Krishna of Kurukshetra Krishna. One Krishna, but different aspect of that Krishna becomes the ideal of Krishna. So whatever is our ideal, we should be attached to that, hold on to that to make our bhakti mature, devotion mature. And after giving the example from the great Hanuman and great devotee like gopis, now he gives the example from our own relationship of our times. So he says, a wife may serve her husband's brothers by fetching water or in other ways, but she cannot serve them in the way she does her husband. With him she has special relationship. So wife has come in the house, and gets just got married, and he starts serving husband's brother and the sister and the mother and the father, and she has respect and is dedicated and to serve them, and she loves everyone, but her relationship with her husband is so different, so intense love. He is her own person, and he gives that example. That should be our attachment or love or relationship with our Ishta. We will revere all. If you are devoted to Krishna, you respect all Kali and Shiva and Rama and Jesus. Everyone we respect, bow down, because they're all forms of God. But our relationship with Krishna is our own, most intense like that. So that's what, if you are devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, then there's no other ideal as equal to Ramakrishna for you. So Ramakrishna becomes the God in your thought and the prayer and meditation and everything you find coming from Sri Ramakrishna. He resides in your heart. Others all reside in your mind, in your thought, but Ramakrishna is your of heart. You must listen to that talk by Swami Tyagananda. It is Ramakrishna of the heart. Beautiful talk he gave. Is available on YouTube. Ramakrishna of the heart. What does it mean? He has very nicely cleared that. So that example is to make us clear how Hanuman loved Rama. We may think, oh, he loved Rama, must be. We don't have that idea. We don't have that nishtha, ekanishtha bhakti has not grown in us. But we can guess the love of wife for husband, whether we are wives or not. But we have seen how wives love their husbands. So that's why we can find and we can imagine what will be the relationship between wife and husband, how much wife loves her husband, how much the husband loves his wife. That is very intimate and intense relationship between two human beings. Even the Madhura Bhava is said to be that sort of love between God and its devotees. It becomes so intense, like like the love between wife and husband, but so that type of devotion is called Madhura Bhava. There's nothing like husband and wife in Madhura Bhava. Madhura Bhava is sweet relationship. So the relationship is very strong as between wife and husband. But in Madhura Bhava, there is no wife, there is no husband. There is only God and the devotee. That is the relationship. But intensity is like husband and wife. That is what is being trying to say. And why Madhura? It's not a three, but Pati Patni Bhava. You see, if it was between husband and wife, that type of relationship, then it would call Pati Patni Bhava. No, it's not Pati Patni Bhava. It is Madhura Bhava. It is sweet relationship. How much sweet? As between husband and wife. That is the example given. So it is about the intensity of love, Ekanishta Bhakti, the joy that you find in each other, the thought you have for each other, the dedication, the love, the care you have for each other is reciprocal, both reciprocate. Bhakta and Bhagavan becomes together. Bhakta and Bhagavan becomes one. In other form of relationship, the devotee thinks of Brahman in Shanta, of Bhagavan in Shanta Bhava, or in Dasya Bhava, he serves the Bhagavan through various ways, that I am the servant ever ready to please my Ishta. In Vatsalya Bhava, also you don't see the glory of God. In Dasya Bhava, you can see the master's glory. In Vatsalya, no glory, but God as a little baby. And as the baby is loved by mother, so you love God. It's not about baby and God. God is loved so much intensely without seeing any glory or the divine power in God. Why you love baby Krishna so much? Not that baby Krishna will give me riches and honor, nothing of that. That is what the beauty of Vatsalya Bhava. You don't want anything from your Ishtado in Vatsalya Bhava. All your prayer is to love God as mother loves her child, without any more than that, without any expectation from God. Then what will God give you? I don't care. I don't want anything. So that is so pure love for God. It's called Vatsalya Bhava. When the relationship between God and the devotee becomes so intimate, so close, God becomes more than even friend. In friend also, it is intimacy is there, but still in friend there is a God, and friend has a little ego of himself, and my friend is so good, my friend is always helpful. Something is there in friend Sakya Bhava. It's not as unselfish totally as between Vatsalya. I don't expect. Madhura is the one, just sweetness is there, no desire, no want, no glory of God, just sweetness. That was the bhava of gopis with Sri Krishna. So gopis had Sri Krishna because they were women? No. It is because they were devotees. There's no woman and man. It is not Purusha and Prakriti as we call. If you say Purusha and Prakriti, then we all created beings are Prakriti. And only Purusha is Sri Krishna. It's not man and woman. All men are also gopis. Gopas, they had something, but Gopi had tremendous love for Sri Krishna, and they loved him in Madhura Bhava. So that's how the relationship between Krishna and the gopis were. And the gopis, when they came to see Krishna, if they loved Krishna alone, the person, they know it is the same person, but that doesn't satisfy. The turban, the crown, Krishna does not satisfy them. They want their own same Krishna of Vrindavan, who is to play with them, who was like the apple's eye for them, with whom they fed with butter and yogurt. That Krishna they want, not the king who is all cared by the with a lot of army and that there are the servants and the people serving. Not that one who is to run off behind the cows. That Krishna they wanted, and they loved that with so without any glory in God. So that becomes Madhura Bhava, intense relationship without any trace of glory in God. All glory has come down. It's only pure devotion. Give me pure divine mother. That is the pure love is what? Called Madhura Bhava. Sweetness alone remains in that relationship that Sri Ramakrishna is praying. So Sri Ramakrishna gives the example of wife and husband so beautifully, and that we can understand, we can guess how much a wife loves her husband, how much a husband loves her wife. Both ways, it is the same sweet relationship, intense relationship, very unique relationship that this caring, loving, this all is there in Madhura Bhava. Sri Ramakrishna often used to say that in Madhura Bhava, all other bhavas come. Vatsalya and Sakya and Shanta, all comes in the Madhura Bhava. Madhura Bhava is the very intense devotion or love, a relationship of love. Then, after saying this, Ram treated the master with sweets. Sri Ramakrishna was ready to start for Dakshineshwar. He put on his woolen shawl and cap and got into the carriage with Yem and the other devotees. Ram and his friends saluted the master. So he's giving presenting the situation. It was quite as he went, and everywhere he's speaking. If you see the gospel, how much Sri Ramakrishna used to talk and talk untiringly, he used to talk about God. And from when he went there, maybe in the little early afternoon at Ishan's house, so much he spoke with Ishan's son Sri's, and then Sri's parents. Then here in Mahendra Goswami's house, and there also he spoke, and it must be late at night. Sometimes Sri Ramakrishna used to return from Calcutta around 10 o'clock at night. So from Kolkata to Dakshineswar must be 1 hour or 2 hours at the time, depending on which place in Kolkata and how much was the speed of the horse carriage. So Sri Ramakrishna might be reaching midnight at the Dakshineswar, but he used to feel so happy there, giving inspiration by Sri Ramakrishna touch. He could feel how this, when he said once, when Rama came to the court in Ayodhya, the thousands lotus bloomed in the heart of all the courtiers. Like the sun came and the lotus bloomed, and Sri Ramakrishna explains what does that mean. Rama came to the court, and all court not doesn't mean our the court like that we have legal proceeding. Court is their working of the king. That office of the king was called court, where he used to listen about the kingdom, the problems of the subjects, and the suggestion of the minister. That was the office of the king. And there, whenever he came, everyone's heart of everyone's lotus it bloomed. Means everyone was so happy to see Rama, to be in Rama's presence, as if Rama came like a sun to the lotus. That's why it is said. When Rama came, it didn't become more lighted, but it became definitely more joyous, more pure. It's become more happy. That was the presence of Rama could bring. And the same thing happened when Sri Ramakrishna went to the devotees. Only we know about Sri Ramakrishna, how he felt joy talking with the devotees, how Yem feels joy with Sri Ramakrishna's presence. But that is what every devotee felt. Only in case of that Brahmani, that Golap Ma, when her house Sri Ramakrishna went, little description is there how Golap Ma was overjoyed by seeing Sri Ramakrishna, and she expresses, maybe I will die today of joy, of happiness. That's what she expresses, and that happened to everyone. Not so much exuberant in presence of Sri Ramakrishna, as expressed by Brahmani, but everyone felt so much joy in Sri Ramakrishna's presence, and Sri Ramakrishna also felt very satisfied to give them a touch of spirituality, make them rouse, give them the blessing by his presence and his conversation. That was Sri Ramakrishna's thing. So that night he came and went to put on his shawl because it was December night, the coldest time of the year. And he put on the woolen cap and went into carriage. And Mahendra Goswami and all those came. Ram came and he saluted the master. and the carriage went to Dakshineshwar. So it was December 27, 1883. Now we go to another day, Saturday, December 29, 1883. Every day in the gospel is the feast of spirituality. He's getting connected to the divine. He's getting in companion and in presence of Sri Ramakrishna. If we could really dive into the gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, we would be as happy as the devotees where Sri Ramakrishna visited. It will be it is powerful enough to make the lotus of our heart bloom as it happened in the presence of Rama. So our heart's lotus will bloom if we could feel the presence of Sri Ramakrishna and feel that he is talking to us. I was one of the devotees, as it were, I am one of the devotees sitting and listening to the conversation of Sri Ramakrishna. Then there can be nothing else other than blooming the lotus of our heart. Let us see what happened on Saturday, December 29, 1883. It was the day of new moon, auspicious for the worship of the Divine Mother. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna got into a carriage to visit the temple of Kali at Kali Ghat. He intended to stop at Adhar's house on the way, since Adhar was to accompany him to the temple. While the carriage was waiting near the north porch of the master's room, Yam went to the master and said, "Sir, may I also go with you?" Master, Yam, "I should like to visit Mata." Sri Ramakrishna reflected a moment and said, "Must you go home? Why? You are quite all right here." Yam wanted to see his people a few hours, but evidently the master did not approve. Why he didn't approve? Because he wanted him to grow and strengthen his spiritual feeling here. Little detachment from his household relationship and more stronger relationship developing with Sri Ramakrishna, with God. And it is nurturing, seedling is growing, lotus is blooming now, and now not to go to the dark from the light, not movement from light to darkness, from darkness to light. So Sri Ramakrishna did not approve him go everywhere. Otherwise, M said, "May I go?" I said, "Yes, of course you should go." That Sri Ramakrishna was to ask him, but today he said, "Stay here for a few more days." Sri Ramakrishna loved him so much. So then that the conversation will not be there. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, while M was walking up and down under a tree, oh, it is the Sunday, December 30, 1883, next day. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, while M was walking up and down under a tree, a devotee came to him and said that the master had sent for him. M went to Sri Ramakrishna's room and found a number of devotees there. He, he saluted the master. Ram, Kedar, and others had arrived from Calcutta. Ram had brought with him the Vedantist monk whom the master had visited near his garden a few days earlier. On that occasion, Sri Ramakrishna had asked him to bring the sadhu to Dakshineshwar. The monk was sitting on the small couch with the master. They were talking happily in Hindustani. Sri Ramakrishna was among them that could speak Hindi. Hindi in the Hindustani, he doesn't use the word Hindi. It must be broken Hindi, must be mixed with some Bengali words, but quite understandable. That's why it's called Hindustani. The people, the Hindi heartland people, they used to speak the language. But he could, Sri Ramakrishna could fluently converse in this language. I think Hindi mixed with few Bengali words, but that was his thing. Otherwise, this gentleman, this sadhu, didn't know Bengali, but he could speak in Hindi. And Sri Ramakrishna was very happy seeing that sadhu. That sadhu was must be a very pure person, must have achieved something through his sadhana. That's why Sri Ramakrishna loved him so much. And he had asked, please bring him one day. And he really brought him today. Let us now see conversation. Sri Ram didn't understand Hindi so well, but Sri Ramakrishna asked him to come, something he would understand of Hindustani. Uh, Master, what do you feel about all this? So just say, what do you feel about all this? And it's clear, those very Vedantic questions. And here monk says, it is all like a dream. So Vedantist monk, no? For Vedantist monk, all this the Prakriti, all this Maya is all like a dream, like an illusion, something appearing which is not there. That is they all Vedantists want to live on this. The world is unreal, God alone is real. This is just we perceive something wrongly. It is like the snake being perceived in rope. That is what the Vedanta's basic teaching is. But Sri Ramakrishna goes beyond that. Whatever you perceive, it is God that is perceived as this Maya. It is God that is perceived as snake. It is rope that is perceived as snake. So though you may perceive it as snake, but you know that it is rope. Though you may perceive this as Maya, as variety, but it is in reality that Brahman itself. So why not to love and enjoy this Satchid Ananda? There is Satchid Ananda even in this Maya. That inner Satchid Ananda is not gone. That is there. Just that because we cannot perceive Satchid Ananda, that's why and we perceive only the Maya, only this dream, and we are not able to perceive Satchidananda. That's why we go into the conflict, into the duality, into the misery of life. But if we could perceive God behind all this scenery, Brahman behind this Maya, then this Maya would be so joyful because you'll find the joy and the bliss of Brahman through Maya. You could touch the Brahman through Maya. Maya would not no more become obstacle to you to reach Brahman. You already reach Brahman by overcoming the Maya, by going beyond the Maya through your knowledge, through your perception. You realize the bliss of Brahman, and yet you like this play of Brahman as Maya. Nitya and Leela. Leela is this world, Nitya is Satchidananda. So Nitya and Leela can go together. In seeing the Leela, doing Leela, you have not forgotten Nitya. You are with Nitya. The bliss of Nitya percolates, comes through this Maya when we are aware of this Nitya. So this Vedantists who are practicing Vedanta before we reach the state of Brahman, where the Brahma Jnana, we try to negate this Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Jagat is Mithya, it is not Brahman. Like that, we try to negate this Jagat. So that's why it is all like a dream. It seems there, but it's not there. So when we wake up to the reality, it all vanishes as if it was not there without leaving any trace because where is the trace of Jagat then? When your dream is broken, where is the trace of this dream? Where is that lion that was chasing me? Where is that beautiful falls? Where is that dense jungle I was going through? Where is wonderful king that was my friend? All just vanished. A trace of anything that I saw? Nothing, no trace, like the Karpura that you burn and everything just gets burned, leaving no trace of even ash. Like that is this drama, this Leela, as the wake up, as the dream vanishes. So this is just like a dream, says this monk. Let us see how Sri Ramakrishna takes the conversation. Master, Brahman alone is real and the world illusory. Well, sir, what is Brahman? Monk. Brahman is the sound, it is Om. So that much can be said about the Brahman, that is Om sound. So he goes up to that. Brahman, he cannot say that Brahman is the one on which this Jagat appears. Brahman is the one which appears as Jagat. So he is not saying that. Let us see what Sri Ramakrishna want to give him the instruction, the depth of not Brahman and Shakti or Aveda, that Nama Nami Aveda. So like that thing, let us see. Master. But there must be something indicated by the sound. Isn't that so? The sound is Brahman. Something indicated by the sound. Om itself is not is the indication of that Brahman. So Om is just the symbol of Brahman. Monk. That itself is the thing indicated as well as tongue indicator. So he doesn't want to go beyond the sound Om. So not about the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, not reaching beyond even the sound. Brahman has to be beyond the sound and the taste and the perception, beyond all senses. He only goes up to the sound because that much of the Brahman can be perceived through our senses. So Om is the Brahman, and Om is indicator, and also what is indicated is also Om. So at these words, Sri Ramakrishna went into samadhi and sat motionless. The monk and the devotees indeed wonderingly looked wonderingly at him in his ecstatic condition. Kedar said to the monk, "Look at him, sir. This is samadhi." So Sri Ramakrishna went to what this monk had said. Indicator and the word that indicates is same, and he ultimately mind went to samadhi, went to the being that is indicated. He went beyond even the word, and that is what they said. He went into samadhi, and the monk also had not seen samadhi, had not experienced samadhi, had not seen samadhi. If he had experienced samadhi, he would not say that it's Om alone is the thing that is indicated by Om. Brahman is even beyond Om. Sri Ramakrishna said at one other place that when I utter Om after samadhi, I have come as it were many steps down. Then only I can utter the word Om when I come down from samadhi. So samadhi is very higher stage, but Om is the thing that we can at the Jagrat Avastha can think of the Brahman as the ultimate, the subtlest way you can think of Brahman as Om. So that's what that he said to monk, indicated to monk Ram said. The monk had read of Samadhi, but had never seen it before. After a few minutes, the master began gradually to come down to the normal plane of consciousness. He said to the Divine Mother, "Mother, I want to be normal. Please don't make me unconscious. I should like to talk to the sadhu about Satchidananda. Mother, I want to be merry talking about Satchidananda." The monk was amazed to see the master's condition and to hear these words. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "Please do away with your I am he. Let us now keep I and thou to enjoy the fun." You see how this the Nitya thing in the Leela, thinking of the Nitya and enjoying the Nitya in and through Leela. That was Sri Ramakrishna's ideal. I am he. Don't be sugar. Enjoy the taste of the sugar. So that's what. Please keep that I am he. Soham, soham. Keep that. But let us enjoy in this world the thinking of that Brahman, talking about Satchidananda, and he talks immediately to his mother. So after having samadhi, so much blissful state, and yet Sri Ramakrishna says, "Oh mother, don't make me just reach Satchidananda. Let me talk about Satchidananda, the joy of Satchidananda to the sadhu and the devotees, where their devotion and their eagerness to reach and have the Brahma Jnana be kindled by listening, by talking about them. Let me do this, mother." He prays to the mother. Coming down from Samadhi, Om. Then how does Om appears to the Sri Ramakrishna? As Divine Mother Kali. The Mother Kali is his Ishta. That is the one who is the aspect or the form or the ideal that he prays for, he thinks of, and that's what he's praying. Mother, don't me take that. He knows that everything is granted by the Divine Mother, and says, "Don't make me unconscious to this world, and only conscious to the Satchidananda. Let me be conscious of this world and relate to Satchidananda and talk about Satchidananda. Let me share my experience of joy to all these people, so that all of them could have the experience of God, experience of Brahman, experience of Satchidananda, and have that joy that I have attained." That's what Sri Ramakrishna's view is. Sri Ramakrishna is not among the people who eat a nice mango and eat fully and then wipe their mouth and then come out in the parlor and talk to them. He is of those grade of people who take a slice of a mango, and then with the rest of the mango they run there in the parlor and say, "Share this, it is so tasteful, it is so nice." So he wants everyone to be happy, blissful, find joy in their life. We live with all the joy of this being a human being. When we can connect with God, when we are in the state of yoga, we are in that bliss. That bliss is our birthright. And Sri Ramakrishna, all these incarnations, and the gurus, and the acharyas, and the shastras, they all want us to experience that state. Their heart aches when we are not able to find that. Coming so close to the river of fresh and clean water, we are dying of thirst. And they say, "Just it is there. Get down to the river and drink that nectar like water. Why are you saying I'm so thirsty and dying of thirst? And please get down to the river. It is just few steps from here." And their heart, and people, they deny to go there, say, "Oh, I am so attached to this riverbed at the top. I don't feel like going to God, going near the river." And then they say, "Why do you say that? Why you get attached to this misery and thirst? Why don't you get and quench?" That's why their heart just aches for with the idea of helping them spiritually. So Sri Ramakrishna's condition is like that person. So the monk was amazed to see the master's condition and to hear these words. Sri Ramakrishna said to him, "Please do away with your I am he. Let us now keep I and thou, and in to enjoy the fun. Fun is the joy of this created world, of this Maya, knowing that this Maya is also based on Brahman. Through Maya, Brahman as a uki marche, as if someone hiding and looking from a hole, from little gap in the wall. That's called uki marche. The Brahman is peeping through all the nooks and corners of this Maya. Why can't you see the Brahman that is looking? Try to see that. Everywhere you'll find through nooks and corners and holes, this Brahman is perceivable through this Maya. Why you say there is no bliss, there is no God, there is no Brahman? Only this is the illusion. No, through the illusion, you can perceive Brahman if we have eye to perceive Brahman. So that's what Sri Ramakrishna is saying is. Now, a little later, the master was walking in the Panchavati with Ram, Kedar, M, and other devotees. All these devotees Sri Ramakrishna loved very much. Kedar he held in high respect. Ram was very dedicated to Sri Ramakrishna and was among the first to proclaim Sri Ramakrishna is the incarnation of God. Master to Kedar with a smile. "What did you think of the sadhu?" Oh, sadhu is not there, sadhu is left perhaps. "So, what did you think of the sadhu?" Kedar. "It is all dry knowledge. The pot had just been put on the fire, but as yet there is no rice in it." Master. "That may be true, but he has renounced everything. He who has renounced the world has already made great progress. The sadhu belongs to the stage of the beginner. Nothing can be achieved without the realization of God. When a man is intoxicated with ecstatic love of God, he doesn't take delight in anything else. Then cherish my precious Mother Shama tenderly within, O mind. May you and I alone behold her, letting no one else intrude. যতনে হৃদয়ে রেখো আদরিণী শ্যামামাকে. Mother, the adorable mother in your heart. মন তুই দেখ আর আমি দেখি. Oh mind, you perceive and I see. আর কেন আর আর কেউ যেন নাহি দেখে. Let no other intrude, no other see. Let us enjoy this, that what is our relationship, intimate, intense, and that's what is our relationship. Others will not understand, so have that relationship with the Divine Mother. Ram Prasad song, beautiful song about Ekanistha Bhakti and very intimate personal relationship with the Divine Mother. That's what is why কেউ যেন নাহি দেখে, because you want that to be so much. You want the whole of Mother Kali. Let them have Mother Kali in different ways as they can think. Here it says to mind, oh mind, just think of her, and you should have your Mother Kali wholly for you, not for anyone. Let others have through their mind, but my mind is should be fully colored with Mother Kali, not a half colored, fully colored with Mother Kali, fully absorbed with the thought of Mother Kali. That means মন তুই দেখ আর আমি দেখি আর যেন কেউ নাই দেখে. So he's saying to his mind, mother mind be in bliss. And ami means who is that ami? I mean that ego, and that ego is also part of the mind, but mind and ego little separated, and the ego wants its mind to be fully absorbed in the thought of divine. That's what it means. This very sloka means, this very song means. So beautiful that how Sri Ramakrishna prayed that monk, though he was a beginner pravartaka, because he had not seen samadhi and not in samadhi, and that's why what he taught that this world is illusory. Only he was working on whatever he thought. If he had realized God, it's not only illusion. He would have found out God in the illusion. Golmale mal ase. This world is golmal, but in this golmal, when you say there is all hodgepodge in this world, as if there is no God, but here is God. Golmale mal. Mal means vastu, the thing, and there is God in this Maya. That is the thing you have to find out. That Sri Ramakrishna is saying is, don't separate our our experience of the world as something secular, ungodly, undivine, but try to find the divinity speared, divinity dispersed in all this world. So that is the goal. Male mala. So there is mal means substance in this goal. Mal means hotspot. There is substance in this hotspot, in this unorderliness, in this duality, in this conflict and friction. There is that bliss. There is harmony. There is sweetness. Find that, realize that, grasp that, and make your lives fruitful and successful. That's what Sri Ramakrishna beautifully he sang to, and he said, when a person has tried to become a monk by renouncing home and hearth, he has done a lot of progress. He has jumped into the river. He has not yet started to become expert swimmer, but he has already jumped into the river. Now he will soon learn swimming and will cross the English Channel. But if you don't jump, unless you jump, then you say, oh, let me jump, let me try, let me wear this jump in this swimming dress, and you are all preparing as if that also scares you. So he has already so much courage attained that he could get freed from all the worldly attachments, all the desires for worldly enjoyment, all the worldly freedom, and could plunge into the water and start swimming. That itself is so glorious. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even he said, he put the ochre robes on a donkey and prostrated before that donkey. Donkey is considered to be one of the very lowly animals, because the donkeys often say that it is very dull and just works the menial work of carrying things. And yet, this donkey putting on the ochre robe on the donkey, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prostrated not to the donkey, but to the ochre robe, a symbol of renunciation, symbol of search for God. You might have attained God or not, that you are trying to reach God. That itself is so glorious. Very attempt is so glorious. One day you will attain God. So we salute to your effort to realize God. That's why Sri Ramakrishna said, a sadhu who has renounced, but he has renounced everything. So that is also glorious. That's why we respect sadhus so much, monks so much. Devotees respect monks because of their renunciation of worldly ties, worldly enjoyments, and have tried to dedicate their life in search of God, who is the soul of our souls. Kedar repeated the words of a song in keeping with the master's feeling. How shall I open my heart, O friend? It is forbidden me to speak. I am about to die for lack of a kindred soul to understand my misery. Misery is not finding thee. Once I found thee, I'm so happy. When I lose your sight, I feel so miserable. But whom to say about my feeling? How happy I get when I get you, when I see you, how miserable I feel when I miss you. Whom to say? Who will understand me? There is no Dharadi, kindred soul is not there. I don't find anyone who would understand the stage of my mind. That's what the Ram Prasad song said. Sri Ramakrishna returned to his room about 4 o'clock. The door of the Kali temple was open, and the master walked in the temple with the monk. Oh, monk was waiting in Sri Ramakrishna's room. Yem accompanied them. Entering the inner chambers, the master prostrated himself reverently before the image. The monk with folded hands also bowed his head repeatedly before Kali. Master, what do you think of Kali? Monk with devotion. Kali is supreme. Master, Kali and Brahman are identical. Is that not so? Monk, as long as one's mind is turned to the outer world, one must accept Kali. As long as a man sees the outer world and discriminates between good and evil, he must accept good and reject evil. To be sure, all names and forms are illusory, but as long as the mind sees the outer world, the aspirant must give up human. The ideas of good and evil are applied to one who is still a student on the path. Otherwise, he will stray from the path of righteousness. That, thus conversing, the master and the monk returned from the temple. Master to him, did you notice that the sadhu bowed before Kali? Him. Yes, sir. Sri Ramakrishna was this. And how eloquently he spoke about the Shakti and Brahman. Beautifully, he explained, he talked to Sri Ramakrishna what Sri Ramakrishna used to talk, and he bowed down to Kali because they generally, this who are Vedantists, he has seen in his own Guru Totapuri, he did not accept Mother Kali as the Brahman or the manifestation. Prakriti is illusory, and Kali represents that Prakriti. So it is illusory, it is not divine. And Sri Krishna said, Daivi Hesa Gunamayi Mama Maya. Mama Maya is Daivi. So bow down to that Maya. So Kali is Prakriti, and monk said, till you see the duality, Kali is real. And one has to discriminate between the pure and impure, between good and bad. Otherwise, how will you progress in spiritual life? Beautifully, he said, Kali is this world, the creator of this world. He knew all about this thing also, though studying only about the Vedanta, but he knew very much that thing. Sri Ramakrishna was pleased to hear this monk's words. And when monk bowed down to Mother Kali many times reverentially, so was pleased with that. So accepting Kali as the manifestation of Brahman, one goes towards the fullness of the spiritual experience. Otherwise, you tend to become one-sided. Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That is one-sided spiritual practice or the knowledge of spirituality. To become whole, one has to will say Brahma Satyam Jagat Satyam. One has to say Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahman. Only Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. That is the half of that is a portion of the true knowledge. So Sri Ramakrishna wants, particularly this monk was so good, he wanted him to have the full idea of what Brahman is. Brahman is not without this Prakriti. Prakriti is the manifestation of Brahman. Brahman appearing as Prakriti. So Prakriti, if we deny Prakriti is nothing, it's just a dream, then you don't know the Brahman at all. So it is Brahman that appears as this dream. The waking person's mind is the one who creates the dream. So dream is real as long as we are in the dream. This Prakriti, Kali, they are real as long as we are in this world, in this Maya. And through this perceiving reality, perception, there is the real truth, real Brahman is all perceived. That's why the scriptures say, Pratibodha Viditam Matam. Through every perception, is that Brahman is perceived. So that Brahman cannot be, these things cannot be perceived, Maya cannot be perceived if there is no Brahman. So that Brahman is there, that's why you perceive this Maya waking state. That Brahman is there, that's why you perceive dream. Because Brahman is there, that's why we enjoy deep sleep. All this prove that Brahman is there. It is the reality that is present in all the three states of our experience, in all the four states, even in the fourth state is not the state of experience, so it's called the fourth or the fourth state, turiya. Otherwise, jagrat avastha, swapna avastha, sushupti avastha. Turiya avastha, turiya is that avastha. Turiya is turiya, reality, the fourth. So that is not the fourth state. It is the state of our being. That's why it's called Turiya, the fourth. So that all are reality. The Turiya appears all as these three avasthas. We perceive all as these three avasthas because of Turiya, which is our true reality. Thank you very much for this from Pinawa, Manitoba, near Winnipeg. And next gospel class we'll have in from Toronto. But next Friday class, which will be Uddhava Gita, we will do it from Calgary on, I think, on second or third, whenever it, no, not third. It will be on 8th, on 8th of July. We will do this thing. Um, the Friday, 8th of July, we'll have the class on Uddhava Gita. Thank you very much. Now we close with the closing chants. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padpadme Tayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmuhu. Thank you and good night to everyone.